Okay, we're gonna today learn about the first siman and first sif in Hilchas Chanukah, which we already discussed. This is already our third session on this, and today we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna isolate and analyze certain ideas. Let's discuss one at a time over here. Number one, the Shulchan Aruch over here at the end of Sif Aleph says the custom is that women do not do work when the menorah is lit. And some say that they cannot be lenient. What exactly is going on over here? So the Mishnah Brew over here, first of all, specifies because the miracle happened through them, which we'll see more about in the continuation of the Simon. Then the Mishnah Brew says that this is only within a half an hour, the first half an hour that the menorah is lit. That's what the Mishnah Brew basically says regarding to women. Now, we have to analyze what are we discussing over here when we say that women are not allowed to work? What is the definition, or more accurately to ask, what is the halachic definition of work in this specific instance, in this scenario? So this is actually subject to a major discussion, and there are numerous opinions about this. The Piskei Teshuvos over here in Oz Beis quotes some of these opinions and says anything, some hold that anything that you're allowed to do on Yom Tov, you're allowed to do over here. Anything you could do on Yom Tov, a woman could do when the menorah is lit. For example, cooking, baking, preparing other necessities for eating, which, by the way, if you ask me, is probably the most applicable activity that a woman would do when the menorah is lit. You light, and then you're ready to get rolling for dinner. Everyone's home. Everyone either left work early or left,
Your hub.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it depends. Kollels a lot of times they get out earlier so that people will light. I mean, there's certain customs. I think that's what most do. Yeshivas also, which is funny because Rabbi Force used to always say, "You see the Yavanim one, because look at all the bittul Torah that they're causing over here. Because you sit down for an afternoon seder in a kollel or in the yeshiva, and it's supposed to end 6 o'clock, 6:30. Now you're home 4:30, right?
So I understand because people typically don't leave work, so maybe they should, I'm saying it should align, like
Exactly.
yeah,
And there is an idea of some people many people do try to leave work earlier to light with the family in the proper time, which that's a discussion what the proper time to light is in Siman Tov Reish Ayin Beis and two Simanim from now. But anyways, the idea being over here is that that's according to the first opinion that they're allowed to cook. Right? However, there are others who say no, no, no. The only type of activities that they cannot do is something which is really like a malacha, like almost on Shabbos. For example, sewing, uh, weaving, right, like knitting, laundry, pressing clothing, right? That's also a discussion. So other acts would be okay. For example, doing dishes, cleaning the house, sweeping the house, certainly cooking and baking. So this opinion is even more lenient in terms of what they can and cannot do. However, some are completely stringent and say women cannot do anything. They can't cook. They can't do anything. Some even go as far as to say that the entire time the menorah is lit, not just when a half an hour. So make sure you don't have oil that's going to last 8 hours. Right?
in that case,
Yeah.
you just blow it out.
Yeah, technically, that's another simon. It's best not to blow it out, even if you make a condition that you're going to do so before, which we'll have to learn about it.
Okay.
We'll have to get there. So some are stringent, even with this, totally, they say you can't do anything, literally. So the reason is so that you don't divert your mind from the miracle. At the end of the day, Nahar Nahar Pashti. River flow its way, which means you could do whatever you want. Makom Sida Yesh Lasadi Lahakel. In the case of a loss, you could be lenient, and a woman could do whatever she wants. So the different customs, I know my wife is personally careful not to do anything within the half hour. So that's what she does. She's very into it. And it's not that hard to half hour. Do something else. Whole discussion nowadays that we have laundry machines, we don't have the whole process. You have to go to the river, you have to dunk it in manually, and then you have to hang it manually if it still applies at the laundry. But look over here at this footnote. This is a very interesting idea from Rosh Zalman Auerbach. Any food that you're gonna eat when the menorah is lit, women can prepare that food. That's according to Rosh Zalman Auerbach, because the idea is, for example, you're making donuts or whatever. So you could do that. You're making latkes because that's not going to divert your mind from the miracle. So that's what he says. Again, others are stringent in this regard. So you have different opinions regarding what to do in terms of this. It's actually apparently not that hard to make your own jelly donuts. Prices that they charge. Maybe you might want to think about doing that. Yeah, I remember when I was younger, it wasn't more than $1 a donut.
Times have changed.
Yeah, I don't even know what they are. I don't buy donuts. I don't buy anything.
I
Anyways,
think that there's double digits.
double digits. Double digits?
Double
Yeah, yeah, the
digits.
fancy ones. Yeah, crazy. Then they have the special, what do they call it? The chocolate from France or something, and they get all these things, and then the peanut, what do you call it? The what's that green nut?
Yeah,
Pistachio.
Pistachio insertion that they grind it up and they make it liquid. All these fancy. It's crazy. What do they say? What's that place that they built with that thing?
Sesame.
Not with a D, with a D. No, the country across seas.
The country what?
No,
With the tall building, Dubai. The Dubai chocolate. I think that they talk about the chocolate's so much better in Dubai than in New York. Yeah, yeah. What was that? I watched a funny clip. This guy in Brooklyn, he spoke to the owner of the one of the bakeries, and he said, "You should know we're losing money on these $10 donuts because they're so expensive what we put in." So he said, "I wanted to thank the owner of the bakery that he's so helpful for the community." And he's moser nefesh all the sacrifice that he's doing to lose money on the $10 donut. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. But anyways, so the Dirshu talks about this, and he says, what are we talking about? The certain acts that women aren't allowed to do. So in footnote 15, they talk about this is according to Rav Shmuel Vosner. He's only talking about sewing that they're not allowed to do. Like we said before, not with cooking, not with baking, but something that requires a lot of amel, toil, effort. No, he doesn't put cooking in that category. He says, for example, mopping the floor. That's one thing I never do. Mopping the floor. Right? So mopping the floor requires more effort, so he says you should refrain from doing that. And regarding washing dishes, it depends. You have a dishwasher, you're just pressing two buttons and you're putting the thing in. That's easy, yeah. So it's the same thing with I used to mop. Most of our floors don't require mops because
Laundry also.
it's wood. Yeah, laundry. We're gonna come after. We're gonna come after that because of the machines. That's what we alluded to before. But the mopping, most of our floors are wood, so we don't need to. But used to be our old kitchen floor. Now we put a new floor on. It was able to take a Swiffer, which is an easy way to mop, in my opinion. Push a button, the thing comes out, then you do it. Unlike the real way to mop. So now I never mop. And it's only just that one room because that room can't take a Swiffer anymore. So it could depend also on the type of mopping and how difficult that is, because sometimes it takes much more time and energy to cook, like you just said. But again, some are completely stringent anyways, and they don't do anything. Rav Chaim Kanievsky is of the opinion that you're not allowed to do laundry and sew, but you are allowed to cook and bake. He's talking about women, men for sure. We saw the stringency, but general halacha is men could. They only said that you can't do something on Chol Hamoed. He wants to say now on Chol Hamoed you're allowed to cook, sure.
Yeah.
So therefore, if
Active also.
yeah, that's right. So therefore, if it will cause a financial loss, so if you're going to refrain from doing a certain activity, then you could do it. Do the malacha. Chol Hamoed, we allow you to do a davar avid, something that's going to be a loss. So to over here. They asked the Chazon Ish, what malacha are women not allowed to do when the menorah is lit? That's what they asked the Chazon Ish. So the Chazon Ish came along and he responded, this is similar to Rosh Chodesh. Also, Nitzim Karelitz wants to say it's like Rosh Chodesh and it's not worse than Chol Hamoed. So consequently, only sewing would be prohibited. However, cooking and baking or washing dishes would in fact be okay. However, the floor, mopping the floor, laundry, he wants to say it's going to be a problem because that's a continual process. It's something continual. So it'll be a recognition that you won't light the candle on Chanukah. I would say, even according to this opinion, the whole laundry thing, everyone makes a big deal out of it. Oh, it takes so much time, is it? It doesn't take time. If everything's in a hamper, you bring it to the machine, you throw the thing in, you throw the detergent in, you push two buttons and the thing's on. Then you put it in the dryer. Which, by the way, if you want to make a good invention and make a lot of money, talking about a ton of money, create a good washer and dryer together so you don't need to waste space and you don't need to waste time taking it from the washer to dryer. In the future, they're going to look at a washing machine and a dryer and say, remember when there used to be two different machines?
For the same machine.
In the same machine. You want to make a good invention, you want to make a ton of money, something that is practical that everyone will buy. A high quality, affordable washer and dryer together saves space, saves time. Finished. But anyways, what I'm trying to what?
No, go ahead.
No.
Nothing to do with that. Just to go back to learning.
Okay. So the point is that when you're just taking the clothing, you're throwing it in the washer, you're throwing the dryer. That's not pshat. Again, you're looking these died to my humble opinion. That's not pshat saying that over here. That's gonna take a lot of time. If you cheshbon, how much time it takes to take clothing, throw it in the washer, and then put it right next door into the dryer and push two buttons again, I would say it's less than 90 seconds. Less than 90 seconds. I move quicker because I'm fifth generation New Yorker. Less than 200 seconds. All right? That's not what takes time. What takes the time is the folding. That's what takes the time. So if you know yourself, you're the person, you don't do the folding. For example, once in a while, I'll put something in the washer dry. I don't fold it. It's my clothing. I just throw it in the drawer. If it's anyone else's in my family, I say, it'll get folded. Whatever, someone else will do it. I don't need to do it. But the key is that it's washed, it doesn't smell, etc. So the idea is that's probably not continual. However, if Eliyashiv comes along and says that the custom is for women not to do anything when the menorah is lit, anything. And the reason is because, like we just said, it's going to divert your mind, even cooking and baking. Yeah, major. So you have a big argument over it, major machloikis. Even they shouldn't wash the dishes. He says, even cleaning the house, and don't think it's a good time to go to the supermarket either. Stay put. It's a half an hour. We're not asking for that much. Talk about Chanukah. Think about it. Play dreidel with the kids. Do something fun. It's Chanukah. Chaim Pinchas Steinberg also wanted to say this as well, except for he allows washing dishes. Certainly a dishwasher would be permissible, which is very minimal effort. Most annoying part of the dishwasher is the loading and unloading. Rabbi Fisher also says that the custom in Yerushalayim, in Israel, is that women do not do any malacha, even cooking and baking. That's what the women in the house of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, that's how they did as well. Even writing and cooking they wouldn't do. Except for, this is what we just saw in the footnote, making the jelly donuts and the latkes, anything that you're gonna eat at that time, they could do.
Oh, so that here.
Because you're thinking of Chanukah. There's sources to that we discussed in the past.
I mean, they couldn't make the jelly
You wouldn't-
donuts beforehand.
What?
Couldn't make them beforehand. Like, there has to be a specific half hour.
Yeah, look, they could have, but if it was that time, so then and you want them fresh, whatever it is, then yeah, that's when everyone got home, everyone was away, school, whatever. So we discussed in the past, what is the idea? Where does it come from to eat specifically jelly donuts? Let's say I want the Dubai chocolate.
Yeah, caramel.
Let's say I want the caramel, the halago. Oh, I'm craving the pistachio insert. I wouldn't eat that unless I got paid, but all right, people like it. The point is what? So then what's the halach over here? Where does that come from? We discussed that in the past, why the jelly donut latkes, we discussed it.
Oil.
Yeah, but according to that, you could deep fry a fig also. Right? Why the donut and why the jelly donut? We discussed that last year.
Menorah.
You remember the answer, I'm sure, so you don't want to show off that you remember it.
Sorry.
Let's talk about laundry machines for a moment. Let's digress over here. We're gonna discuss laundry machines. I'll actually make a link for the jelly donut. I'll see if I can find it from a year ago. Make a link. Rav Elyashiv comes along and he says, let me tell you something about laundry machines, all right? He says this is considered laundry and it's prohibited. That's what he wants to say. However, someone to permit it because it's not it's not such a diversion of the mind. Also, Reb Chaim Steinberg talks about it. And that's the idea over here. All right. The Rav Elyashiv also says regarding doing malacha work, you have to depend what's really needed and what's not. All right. Yeah, in our places, Rav Elyashiv says men typically aren't stringent about this, and they'll perform malacha. The Mishnah Berurah said in the house. What did he mean? This means this has to do with when is the menorah lit in the house. The shul doesn't matter. It's all about what's happening in the house. So really, we already saw 30 minutes is fine. Some the entire time when the menorah is lit, they're careful not to do anything. Let's say you have a woman. This actually, I think, happened once. She's working. So she can't light the menorah. Now, this could happen with someone in the medical field, where sometimes they have 24-hour shifts straight. So let's say her shift begins 7 in the morning, and it ends 7 in the morning the next morning. What does she do to light? Now we're going to discuss, this really comes up more in Siman Tov Reish Ayin Zayin, the halachas of Achsanya. But what does she do over here? Is she not allowed to work when the menorah is being lit in her house by her husband? So, quote over here in footnote 17 from Rav Elyashiv says yes, she would actually have to stop working for that half hour. That's right. Because the prohibition of doing malacha doesn't specifically apply to the actual location, and when you're in that location, you're fulfilling your obligation, even if you're somewhere else. She's fulfilling her obligation with her husband who's lying in their house, therefore she can't do work. Now, if she could switch what she's doing, if it's possible for her to switch her job, what he's doing with someone who's permissible to work, for example, a male, or switch with someone who's lighting at a different time or something, it's fitting to do that. But if you can't do that, she could continue working. Because he mishubedes lavodasa. She is basically what that means, subservient to her work that she has to do. Yeah. She is a im hischira if she's hired. She's an employee. As an employer, you could decide when to work, when not to work. As an employee, you can't. It's not how it works. So that's that case over there, which is an interesting scenario. When we say you have to wait a half an hour for the menorah to be lit, when the Mishnah Berurah said that, point out in footnote 18, based on the Mishnah Berurah and some Tafrei Shaim base of Beis, Shulchan Aruch over there, their halacha over the Dibur Maskul Bilvad, that this is talking about you have to wait a half an hour till after Seitzach Chavim when the menorah is still lit. So you can't do any work until a half hour after when 3 stars come out. That's basically the discussion regarding women working when the candles are, when the menorah is lit, and what's halachically considered work, how much time, and the argument over there. So in short, to summarize what we just did over the last 25 minutes or so, the different customs, they all have halachic basis, what women can or cannot do, either the entire time, duration of when the menorah is lit in the house, or for half an hour after Seisach Chavim, all different opinions, and that's basically what we do. Now we're going to digress and wrap up this sif by discussing what the Shulchan Aruch writes about over here, what the Gemara says, that on Chanukah for 8 days you're not allowed to make a eulogy, nor is it permissible to fast. It's prohibited to fast. What's the deeper idea behind this? Was a custom on Chanukah not to go to the cemetery. Let's say Shiva just ended, Shloshim, at someone's yurtzeit. Because that is very likely that it will cause a person to be sad and cry. And that could lead to a eulogy. You reminisce stories about the person who is no longer here, about his or her life. That could lead to sadness. And therefore, someone who does have a yurtzeit that falls on Chanukah, you should either go to the cemetery before or after Chanukah, but not on Chanukah. However, others disagree and are lenient and say nowadays the custom is to be lenient and go to the cemetery during Chanukah. However, they should be careful not to eulogize, not to make a eulogy, not to lament and to be sad about it. More go in, go out business style, so to say. You shouldn't say the text that is accustomed to say in other days, text of Hashkava, and you should not do Hakamas Mitzeva, that's erecting the tombstone. Shouldn't do that either. That's what they say. Regarding this, the Dershu comments and ask a very interesting practical question. Is it permissible to listen to a recording of a eulogy on Chanukah? We discussed a similar shiloh around 12 years ago when we learned Siman Mem Zayin and Hilchos Birchos HaTorah. Actually, just happened to me this morning. Head out, went straight to the car. Kol Chai music was on. And I didn't say Birchos HaTorah yet. And lo and behold, on Kol Chai, remember Israel's 7 hours ahead, guy was saying a Dvar Torah on Parshas Chayei Sarah to quickly change it up. And I went to the Jewish music stream. Because they're allowed to say that it's a problem, as we discussed years ago.
What about music? That's a pasuk.
That's not Torah, that's music. That happens to be a pasuk in there. Yeah, that's music primarily. That's already pushing it to be super duper stringent. But what about you? Yeah, of course, once you start talking about Birchos HaTorah, you don't stop. That's an awesome simon. There's only around 3 times in my life that I ever made bechinas. I made tests for the guys. What was Birchos HaTorah, Siman Mem Zayin? You know the other one? What was the other one?
Yeah.
The other one was Siman Kuf Ches, halachas of Tashlumin and Shon Esrei, and the other one was Minchas Chinuch, Mitzvah Aleph, Peruval. Those are only 3 tests I ever wrote in my life. Yeah, it's kind of fun seeing everyone take it and whatever. It's annoying to grade though and everything. Yeah, it's annoying to grade, but they were very good. They're very good. They're good. They're good for me. They're good, and then you have questions you could throw out to people, and yeah, multiple choice. We only do fill-ins, no multiple choice. So it is easier to mark. That's right. Yeah, but you want it to be a real to see where something's going. What about hearing on a tape, the eulogy? Rav Elyashiv comes along and says that is not considered a eulogy and that will be fine. However, it would be a problem because look, you can't hear eulogies at this time. You can't hear things that are bad that are going to make you sad. That's the idea. Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld also echoes this idea. Others as well. Right, there was a story with Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who one time was speaking with people on Chanukah, and then someone mentioned something that was a little painful and difficult. And he said, "Silent!" The rabbis teach us that on Chanukah, it's prohibited to eulogize. So therefore, you shouldn't mention anything type of anything bad or anything like that.
We have a halacha by Yantas and I think by Purim also, Shloshim Yom. You're
Yeah.
not allowed to before.
Yeah, we're gonna
But here by Chanukah, we're more lenient. That's
we're,
just.
we're gonna touch upon that. That's gonna be Sif. I think it's gonna come up in Sif Gimel.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, but we already saw over here in the Shulchan Aruch. Wait a second. What do we see over here? We didn't see anything from. Says it doesn't say before over here. No, it doesn't say before or after. But I think if it was on Sif Gimel, this comes up again.
Mhm.
See in Sif Gimel over here? Ein masbidin el chacham b'fanav. Yeah, over here. Yeah. He says, look later on. Siddiqadin. He doesn't mention before or after over here. No.
I think by Purim, definitely by Yantas.
Yes, I think it might be discussed more down here actually. The before and after business. Just trying to skim the whole thing. Yeah, not discussed. Yeah, so it would be more stringent. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically what they say over here. Now they say regarding a eulogy before Chanukah, according to the Bach, it's permissible. However, the Mishnah Berurah later on says some are stringent before Chanukah. Oh yeah, the Mishnah Berurah Yud Beis. You see, I said they're going to talk about it. See, now they're talking about it in the Dersha what we were just discussing. So we're going to learn about that in the Mishnah Berurah Beis. It's going to say some are stringent before Chanukah. That's specifically on the 24th of Kislev, so one day before Chanukah. However, and that's the day. However, the night of the 24th of Kislev, according to Rav Elyashiv, according to everyone, would be permissible.
Mhm.
So that's when it comes to eulogies on Hanukkah. It's funny, you learn these halachas. You say, when does this happen? Let me tell you, this happened with my father's father. He passed away on Hanukkah, during Hanukkah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's right. So this stuff, or at least the burial was on Hanukkah, the eulogy, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, you ask yourself, when does this happen? The answer is whatever you learn about, it will eventually happen. It has happened. It can happen, and it will happen. Right? If you want to go into the statistics and the probability of how often, all right, fine. That's already something else. Might be less, but when I said that's what you got to learn, and you got to remember it because this stuff certainly does happen. Yeah. So you got to learn about it. Okay, what are we missing over here? What's this footnote 23 going on? Yeah, okay, we got to wrap this up over here. We only have a few more minutes. Talk about a new topic over here, right? The main idea we have to realize is to thank Hashem. That's what it is, for the miracles that occurred in the Hanukkah time. That's what it is, that we were victorious with the war, with the oil, all of it. Right? We had avoda then in the Beis Hamikdash, and that's the intention that we should have when we light. To realize what, and actually contemplate and think about what we are celebrating over here. It says over here from Rishon Zalman Auerbach, the enactment to light isn't because that we found the jug of oil. That's just the way that we commemorate the miracle with the victory of the Greeks, like we say in Eretz Alanisim, Birchas Hamazon, benching. So that needs to be our main focus. Think about
the war.
Yeah, that's what he wants to say.
Wow, it's the other way around.
Yeah, they go back. Why you need it both? Correct. Yeah, they go back. Now this is the Chassam Sofer that I wanted to share from yesterday. The Chassam Sofer writes that Chanukah when you establish a holiday on the day that a miracle occurred, that is an obligation from the Torah. And according to that, says the Chassam Sofer in the Shayot Sinchuvas in Yordei Simin Reish Lamed Gimel Lefiza Yom Purim Yom Chanukah, Daraisa him.
That's wild.
That's right. Says the Chassam Sofer, Purim Chanukah, Daraisa is from the Torah.
What's the makar that is the rice?
You just said.
What's the pasuk? What's the
Look up the tshuva, Reish Lamigil. However, what are we gonna do? You send Mishloach Manos, light the menorah, do another way to remember it. No. What we do to commemorate what happened, that is rabbinic in nature. That's from the rabbis. That's in the D'Rabbanan. And someone who violates this and doesn't do anything to commemorate Chanukah and Purim transgresses a mitzvah from the Torah. And he says it's possible that saying Hallel on Chanukah and Megillah and Purim, Kal v'chomer, certainly is D'Oraisa. Just like the mitzvah of on Pesach to be masaper. You see us trying to talk about the Exodus verbally, so too over here we went from Avos L'chaim.
Your day.
Yeah, your day, Reish Lamed Gimel. That's what he says. The Achroinim have tremendous pilpul on this Cham Sofer. They go back and forth. If you want something to read up on over Shabbos, look at the Nesiv, Nezei Mekshaila, in Siman Chavav in the beginning. Look at the Shal Shuvas Beis Alevi or Chaim Siman Dalad. Lakuti Aros on the Cham Sofer. Look over there. Many Achroinim, they go into this. It's a big chiddush over here. Tremendous idea over here. So, anyways, this is basically Sif Aleph wrapped up in a nutshell. I mean, some interesting topics that we covered today. Very relevant, eye-opening, something to think about and be careful with. I think we should try half hour after Seitzal Chavim, the women not to do anything. Just hang out with the family, enjoy the time. This world is fleeting. Any age that we're at and that our kids' age, our kids are at, grandkids, it's all fleeting because they're not going to be at that age for long. And the time flies. You see certain things that I've seen, certain people that act certain ways. You see them months later, even years later, they're a different person. You could barely even recognize them. They change so much. So everything is fast paced, and time flies when you're learning and having fun. So that's the story here. So Mir Hashem, next week we're going to continue with Siv Beis and Siv Gimel, wrap up the Simon probably in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 sessions, perhaps even less. And then we'll move on from there. Through our quest in Hilchos Chanukah, we're going to cover some major ground. By the time we're done before Chanukah, we will have completed more than half of Hilchos Chanukah, including what we did last year. Including what we